I'd like to say welcome, Linette. Thank you for being here. Linette Bixby is our guest this week. And I'm coming to you from the Dalmatian coast of Croatia in the beautiful old town city of Zadar, where there's a lot of history and a lot of views of the world from many, many changes. And that's our intention here in these sessions, is to have these interviews with our guest teachers, like today with Linette, to look at the different views of the field that we're in for mindfulness programs. So with that, I'd like to thank our producer, Mark Foreman. If we see Mark, you might want to just raise your hand or somehow acknowledge yourself there. Thank you. Thanks for putting this together and facilitating these recordings and hosting them on your Sing to the Mountain YouTube channel. And if you're viewing this at this point on Sing to the Mountain or on our Facebook group, then please go to Sing to the Mountain and subscribe so you get notified when these videos are posted, and also when Mark posts his wonderful photographic journeys through Mission Trails Park, where he posts a lot of interesting photos of beings, whether they're animals or humans. So, thanks, Mark. And I also want to thank Mike St. John, who's here. Mike, if you could just give us a wave, who volunteers to co-host in these sessions and allows us all to stay on track, especially me when I don't see things. So thank you, Mike. Linette, let's come back to our guest of the hour here. I would like to introduce you just very briefly as a trained MBSR, Mindful Self-Compassion teacher, a trauma-informed mindfulness facilitator, certified mindful schools teacher, author. I think you wrote new author, something to that effect, first-time author of a wonderful Mindfulness for Teens Workbook. So I want to hear a little bit about that as we go. And a Finding Calm for Parents facilitator. I'm not familiar with that program, but I recognize that you're incorporating the full circle of the family, youth, and parents. Do you mind saying something about that program? Because I'm not familiar with it. Maybe others would like to know.
Yeah, I became familiar with it. It was called Community of Mindful Families. And it's developed by I think I'm a little bit nervous. Yafa Moritz. I don't know if you've heard of her. But she created a program that was called Listening Mothers, and it was for mothers of infants. And she and a few other people wrote a curriculum called Finding Calm so that they could reach the next age group of children and parents, so that they could continue to stay connected to their kids and connected to themselves while parenting. So they developed a 6-week curriculum, and it was just for parents to, and it's really applicable. The intention was 1 to 6 years old, but with my training, I see that could be incorporated to any age group of child and parenting combination.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. It's nice to know that. And it's nice that it has that flexibility, that you find that flexibility in it to take the wisdom of it and bring it into other age groups. You're also taking the program that Tara Brach and Jack Kornfield are teaching. So that's of interest to me, too. At what stage in it are you in? Is it 1 year? Or several years? Yeah, 2 years.
2 years. And I'm in the 2nd year, and this is my own curriculum and meditation writing so that I can teach talks and provide meditations and have a trauma-informed and DEIA-informed Q&A session afterwards so that we can connect with our communities as we continue to teach.
Yeah, and for those that aren't familiar with it, what is DEIA?
Diversity, equity, inclusivity, and accessibility.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Anything you'd like to say about that program after being in it for this amount of time? You know, with the integrity of holding, you know, the integrity of the group. I'm not asking for anything personal here, but just in general. Yeah.
It has really brought me to a deeper understanding of my own practice. I think that was kind of my intention, just to get deeper into my own practice and ways to reach people more deeply into their own life with compassion and mindfulness and meditation, and be able to really bring people deeper into their own meditation practice. I think that a lot of my mindful schools training was more curriculum based towards, you know, skills and concepts that can be helpful to young people, but this program is, I would say, to the liking of MBSR, but on an even deeper level of what happens when we meditate, what comes up, and how do we meet that with loving kindness and compassion.
Yeah, it's vital. Thank you. Yeah. So within the scope of all of this, you know, I usually have started, this is our fourth session with the origination stories of the passion that people bring to finding themselves in the mindfulness field and becoming teachers. But taking a little bit of a different tact here today, with the various ways you're bringing this work out in different populations and different age groups, where is your passion landing right now? What is really at the forefront of, you could do anything in the world for the next 5 years in mindfulness, what direction would you go in?
I struggle with that because I don't want to leave anyone out.
Okay.
But really where my passion is, you know, educators who are really, really suffering right now, and the educators could really bring the practice into their own lives, how much more supportive they could be for themselves and for the kids that they serve and the parents that they serve, to have the kind of presence that it needs to be under such duress, to hold space for all that's coming up for them in their own lives and those of students, parents, and other teachers. And it trickles down, you know, when we're in practice on a regular basis, you know, we have more tolerance for our own husbands or our own children or our own wives, our own lives. And so it trickles down just from our own heart space and presence. So, and I have a calling right now just to really support teachers, educators, you know, all the way up to admin. They're really needing support right now.
Yeah, absolutely. As we all are. And the word that's bubbling up for me, if I funnel down that passion that I'm hearing from you, is overwhelm. That in some way you want to bring this work to relieve overwhelm.
Yeah.
For teachers in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
So how did you get here? Where did it begin?
Oh boy. I'm fairly new to formal meditation, 2016. But I think that I've always had an inner sense of where am I right now, what's really happening, what's true for me. And I didn't really know that was a mindfulness practice. But I was in company with a girlfriend of mine, and we were having lunch, and she said, Lynette, I just took this class, and it's who you are. And it was a mindful schools class called The Fundamentals of Mindfulness. And so I was like, oh, I'll check it out. And then I was like, wow. After an 8-week program, I was blown away by how it transformed so much in me and who I am, and how it really impacted how I was mothering my 2 kids at the time, and how receptive they were to just my presence. And I wasn't teaching them anything formally, but I was just noticing that my presence, my ability to get through conflict and support was so impactful. So I continued on the route and went through several of the courses that Mindful Schools offers, and then I was accepted into their year-long Mindful Schools program because I was like, kids need this. Boy, if I knew this stuff at 11, my whole life would have been so different, and not better, but so different. I would have been able to, hold on to some of those challenges with less gripping, and so from there I was like, okay, tried to get into schools and did a lot of volunteering in schools and natural helper groups, and some meditation over mental health weeks, and I've done a lot of professional development conferences. I did 3 over the pandemic. So just trying to reach the kids, but I have to funnel differently.
Yeah. It sounds like there was something already there. One common theme I've noticed in the last 3 sessions that we've had is that of a childhood experience. And what I'm hearing from you is that somebody recognized that this program was you, that it was already there. So can you place that at any point in your youth in any way? And I know I'm putting you on the spot with this question. There may not be anything to be recognized, but it's been intriguing to me, so I'll ask it.
Yeah. Let me kind of reach in.
Sure. Let's pause.
I think the root is in my own childhood trauma. I was able to recognize in other people their own hurt. I had a decent upbringing, but as an adult looking back, I think there was a lot of things that were really not safe or cool or comforting. I had an alcoholic father and a mom who always showed up smiling but was always in pain. And I think that feeling my own emotions helped me to see in every set of eyes that I looked at that there too is also another person who has been hurt and who needs loving, kind presence of someone. And so that's really who I am at the heart of my soul, is that as I even look at this screen, that I look into your eyes and I say, what a beautiful human being you are. You too have suffered and you belong. And if I can make a difference in your life, in whatever way that is, a smile, a gesture, you belong.
Oh, my goodness. I just see a lot of hands on hearts in our Zoom group community. And just breathe that in. Well, I'm glad I asked. And, it's an empathic resonance that you have is coming through. So, Linette, in your current work now, let me start with the mindfulness for Teens Workbook.
Yeah.
What was the seed for that? How was that planted?
I was actually approached by a publishing company who found me on my website, and they said, we think that you have what it takes to write a book, and we have this rough outline and feel like kids really need some support right now, and can you help us out? And so I said, I am not an English teacher, so I'm kind of scared. Mm-hmm. I'm not a writer. And they said, don't worry, we've got your back. We have a publisher and illustrators, and we'll do all the background work. We just need your love and compassion, what you have to say, and we'll take care of the rest. So it was an 8-week process. I wrote an entire workbook in 8 weeks. It was 8 weeks. Very, very intense, with very intense deadlines. I spent the final 10 days before I needed to turn it into my publisher out on Whidbey Island by myself, not aware of what was going on in the world. And that's March 11th was the day that my work was to be turned in. And then the pandemic hit, and so when it came out in August of 2020, it was perfect timing for all these kids who were just coming out of a really terrible school year. And so I feel like it's not serendipity, but it was all the beautiful things that were meant to be.
Yeah. Do you believe in coincidences, or do you think there's something else at play?
Oh, definitely something else in play.
Yeah.
I really do believe in the higher power of some call God, some call source, some call universe, some call just divine intervention or divinity. And so the more we tap into our heart and into our body, the more it becomes alive, in my experience.
I feel that. Yeah. How do people obtain the workbook if they're interested?
It's on Amazon. It's called Mindfulness Workbook for Teens, and I've got a lot of really great reviews. I don't get any money from it, any royalties. It was kind of a bulk rate, and so I don't advertise it for my own well-being, but in any way that it could be supportive for youth in your world, that's definitely a nice resource. It's geared towards children 12 to 18, but can be modified for a lot of different age groups. I hope maybe to write another book someday when it feels right.
You'll be a second-time author.
Maybe.
So looking at your website, you have private meditation coaching that you're engaged in, a mindful creative writing course. So that's interesting. How do you incorporate what you learn or know that you brought to the workbook into that course? What does that look like?
I actually took a writing course, and there was a lot of journaling, and I've been journaling now just for the last year, and I found how incredibly powerful it is. to really let your heart speak or doodle until words come out. It doesn't have to be in written form with periods and commas and things like that. But writing is just like really touches into your inner knowing of so much of what's happening in our lives. And so I thought, I took a creative writing course myself and was inspired and thought, this would be a fun thing to do just for fun, for people to tap into that writing experience. And some of it's very fun topics, like here's a list of 30 words, create something in the next 20 minutes, however you want, So just really inspiring, so that we think that writing has to be what an English teacher does or a journalist or a book writer, but writing can create and open up so much creativity in us. And so oftentimes we say, I'm not creative, I can't write. And you know what? We're creative if you create a weekly menu for your family, or a road trip in a motorhome, or, creativity comes in so many forms. And so I thought it would just be fun. So it's really more about fun, but really being mindful about what comes up when you're given, a series of different kinds of playful prompts. And that's kind of where that came from.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. It also kind of reminds me a little bit about what we're up to here. Here's a camera, and here we are, and let's see what's created.
Yeah, and this is creativity.
Yeah. And then in mindful communication that you have a program for, is there a particular form of mindful communication you're teaching?
Yeah, I did a lot of work with nonviolent communication, and Oren J. Sofer, who is a real huge inspiration to me. He does a lot of. He wrote a book called "Say What You Mean," and a big part of mindful communication is really understanding how you feel in the first place. And I think that where we get stuck so often is feeling so much overwhelmed, but not knowing why it's there. And then not wanting to really investigate, because you don't know what you feel. So how do you tell someone what you're feeling or express what you need if you don't even know how you're feeling? And so I just created a little 2-hour workshop so that people can kind of understand feelings and needs, and then how to express to yourself or understand within yourself this is the quintessential question in the mindful self-compassion is, what do I need? And then how do you meet that? What do I need?
Yeah.
And so that was a really powerful moment for me to understand, or to be told that I can ask myself and feed my own needs, and that I have resources to really sit and wonder, like, what am I feeling? There's just so many words in the vocabulary to express, and the common ones are stress or anger or sad or unwelcome, whatever those are. But under fear, right? We've all experienced so much fear in the last 2 years. But underneath those umbrella words, underneath are some really tender expressions of emotion. And when we can touch those, feel it to heal it, right? Once we can really tap into and touch the real place that we feel, then we have the capacity to say, oh, I am really needing some, I'm needing understanding. I'm not angry, I'm needing understanding. And how just that split moment of understanding, angry comes to, what's really there, then you're like, oh, so where do I get understanding? A coworker, a friend, a spouse, a pet, you get to choose. Then there's just so much choice in how you receive and look for understanding.
Yeah, that's so much wisdom right there. I feel like we've just been in a big part of the course. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's really difficult for us men. I'll speak for myself as one man that, actually recognizing what's needed is without burying it deep down somewhere or not seeing it at all. Yeah. It's a challenge. So thank you for that. And beautiful. And then the teens and the young adults. Are you working specifically with the Mindful Schools program?
It has been a challenge as a teacher to get myself in the door. I was certified in 2017. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I think that schools were thinking it was woo-woo, and I was able to get into some schools and non-paid and do like a 6-week program in the middle school or go into an elementary school once a week for 20 minutes. But really schools are either financially challenged or there are other challenges in terms of the secular work of mindfulness. And so that hasn't been as successful as I really thought. Oh my goodness, I'm going to be so busy. I'm going to be so busy working at like 10 different schools and I'm going to make a difference. And these teachers are going to be feeling great and these kids are going to be going home with these practices. And it's just been a real challenge to get into schools for me.
Mm-hmm. You're not giving up?
No.
No, good. We're hearing that a lot right now, that it's a challenge to fill classes and programs and a lot of causation around people being zoomed out and things like that. So it is a bit of a challenge for all of us in the field who are promoting programs. So I'm wondering now, speaking with that larger view of the field, how do you see things progressing? Any insight as to, and you can sit with this one too, it's a big question, how do we see, what is our view of the field of mindfulness programs as they move forward now that we have so many different iterations where before, the father or grandfather of these being MBSR and the way that we teach mindfulness. Now there's so much. Where do you feel we're headed?
Well, I see it in magazines, in every bookstore. It's everywhere, and the interest is there, the momentum is there. And I'm actually a part of an organization. It's an app called Quilt. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh, interesting.
But do check it out. It was developed to be a mental health support network where you can just pop in to like these rooms and you're not seen. It's not on Zoom. It's only audio. Right. And a lot of people on there are really looking for support and help. And so I joined, and I'll pop in and you can just listen or you can be a speaker. And a lot of people are wanting to meditate. They're wanting to learn more about what's happening inside my body. So I bring that up because it's one place where I'm hearing the calling out of emotional and mental support, and it's anonymous. So people are seeking us out. Where do I think mindfulness is going? On a side note, I don't know why that was called in, but...
Well, that's a part of it. That's a big part of it.
It's needed more now than ever before. No, not now more than ever before. More now ever than before. Yeah. I'm gonna retract the... I think that people need a practice to understand what's happening in mental health and emotional health. And we need to make it more accessible for those who can't afford what are really expensive programs for some, so giving our time and being of service to our communities, I think, is really what we need to do a little more of, maybe. But gosh, Ellen, you do this every week. This is service, and this is service for all of us and anybody who can show up. And so whatever ways we can be of service, maybe that's how we grow and bring other people in, because when you are in a space where you feel like you belong, you want to return. Everyone needs to feel like they belong right now. We all have the amazing tools and skill sets and heart space to bring people in. And if that's just looking at someone in the grocery store in the eyes and smiling and saying, "Nice to see you today," we're growing our work. It's our presence that's going to grow mindfulness.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Linette. Thank you. Well, with that, I'd like to invite, first of all, you to stay with us once our recording is over, if you can, for continued dialogue. But for now, also open it up to see if we have any questions from our Zoom mindfulness teacher community group that's gathered here today for you around any of the work that you do. This is something that we are moving our sessions towards an understanding of, too, this question and answer period, this shift that takes place between absorbing and listening to the asking. And now, with that, I see that Kalika, who, thank you for still being here, Kalika. I know you say you had to leave early, that's why.
I couldn't leave. You got me at the heart, girl. I did things that I could so that I could continue listening to you. You brought tears to my eyes, my heart. I mean, I connect with you. Not with you or connect with you. And I know that you're going to be doing something for the Center for Mindfulness, UCSD. I think I'm teaching at that time, but in any case, I love what you're about. And, as I was, doing things, I'd hear a new thing, and then you do this, and then you do that. And what was really pronounced to me is the gentleness that you offer. It's like who you are. So you have all this stuff going on, and it's not, and for lack of a better word, stuff. These beautiful offerings, these understandings. I really feel it because I have a lot, but I'm so impressed that you have a way of doing it. You have a way of getting it out. You have a way of having an audience for it all. It's wonderful. And, I'm just so glad I'm here. And I'm glad that you let me go first, Alan, because I really have to get ready. But wow, you're something. And
thank you, Kalika. I'm glad you were here, and your presence matters too. And so appreciate that you're here.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Kalika. Linette, I have a question for you that Kalika has kind of helped bubble up a little bit. One of the main intentions of this work, these videos, and this community that I hold is how to move from the silos that we're in our individual centers and associations throughout the U.S. and internationally into a larger community, speaking with this one beautiful voice beyond the politics that's involved within running centers, associations that are essentially businesses, and everything gets political. Speaking with this one voice that you've articulated so beautifully and well for intention and service in alleviating overwhelm and all that you've spoken to. This may be another pause moment. Do you have any thoughts on how we as a field might move towards that kind of togetherness?
I think the why. Why are we here? Why are we here each as a human being? Why are we here as a collective? Why are we part of this organization? And are we serving the people that we most want to serve? Are we serving each other right now in this field of political pull? Are we really living to our intention of why we're here? And I'm hearing the great pause coming in, like the great pause. We need to pause more often. I think we get caught up in independent stories of who's right and who's wrong, and we're off track or we're on track, but each person might have a different track. And I think that the great pause is so important to reflect on what's really in our hearts right now. Why are we together? And are we moving in the direction of our hearts, or are we moving in the direction of success? I've had my business for 7 years. I have $3,000 that I've earned in that amount of time. And I'm careful how I spend it and I use it. And I have to remind myself that although I'm fortunate that my husband provides for our family, I want to be successful and provide for myself and feel that success and that drive, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be a social media queen, and I'm going to go on TikTok, and I'm going to do all these things, and I have to remember it's not about me that I'm doing this work. Well, yes, of course it is. It is. But really, I'm moving in service of, to create tribes of people where we all feel like we belong. And I think about Native tribes and how they are together and supportive, and they come together naturally to support the tribe, the children, the elders, and we've lost that in our world. And so we need to come together, less about mind space, but more in the heart space, and let the heart space inform the mind.
It was such a beautiful teaching. Thank you, Linette. I'm very moved. We're kindred spirits in that thought. Well, thank you, Linette.
Yeah,
thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to mention or ask or talk towards before we finish our session?
I look at all of you who are teachers of whatever it is whatever program, MBSR, which is incredibly powerful for me as well. I mean, it's such a rich program and offering of self-reflection. I know that in each of you is a really tender, beautiful heart who wants to give back. And so whatever it is you're teaching, the curriculum is so much less important than your presence. It's how you show up and build that container that the curriculum will speak through you. And so I encourage that whatever the words are on the curriculum page, if you can just be there for your people, that's enough. The curriculum will find itself through your heart.
Thank you. So today's recording will be posted on our Mindful Teacher Community Facebook page. It will also be on Sing to the Mountain Studio, and there'll be links to it. Linette, my heartfelt thanks to you. We're living into this week by week as one big experiment, and I feel like we've grown. And your presence is watering that growth in a way that I didn't expect today. I'm truly on the verge of tears. Thank you.
Click down below to join our Mindfulness Teacher Community Facebook group, where you're also invited to post and share. Also, subscribe to Sing to the Mountain Studio so you don't miss out on future recordings of live sessions.